I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today we talk about drugs, deception, and the promise of hope, an interesting mix which you'll learn about from Iowa native Kevin Smith, who's an expert in knowing the difference between fact and fiction. His practical, no-nonsense approach sheds light on hope, truth, and ultimately happiness. Let's get to know our guest, Kevin Smith, and his journey as a public servant, a father, and a community leader. Kevin, welcome to the show. You start from sort of humble roots in Iowa, and you had an interesting career. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Peter. Pretty simple guy. Born in Burlington, Iowa, went to high school in Dubuque, Iowa. Basically a story of just getting through high school where I started to maybe figure out what I wanted to do. Was an athlete. That got me to college at the University of Northern Iowa. Studied health education, also was on the football and track team there, and kind of learning how to balance all that. And from there, I tried teaching. That's what my major was in, health education. And just something was missing. I did 3 or 4 years of teaching, coaching, and there was just something more I felt like I had to be a part of, pretty much like anybody else's story. And actually signed on with the United States Army. And that's where my career in life took off from that point. And my career in the Army went from basic infantry, combat medic style to becoming an officer, going through the military academy in Iowa, and then wanting to follow a dream I've had since a boy of flying. So I became a helicopter pilot. And that career with the Iowa National Guard and the United States Army, I thought was pretty set and straightforward, but it was anything but normal. It was very non-standard. After aviation, got involved with counter-drug operations, anti-terrorism, just special operations group later on in career. So my success in the military was pretty awesome. It was high level. And so, it's a short line story, but I'm pretty proud of it. But, when I got out, that's where being at that high level and coming home to Earlville, Iowa, caused me a little bit of grief.
Yeah, but you actually turned that into a rich experience and got involved with drug policy, developing model state drug laws. And fascinating, what few people would probably know is I think you were part of the founding team of an organization called Face It Together.
Yes.
Which is the precursor to the organization we have today. You worked with Senator Grassley to found the organization, and I was able to succeed Senator Grassley as chair of the organization. So little we know about each other, and yet how our lives can cross. Because right. I saw you as a dynamic leader. You were able to really cut through the BS, so to speak. Nobody was going to pull the wool over your eyes with drugs or dangerous issues related to that. And you knew that stuff had to be done on a large scale in terms of drug policy to really get it into people's hearts and minds that this was a serious threat to people. But now right. Through all of that, there is a part of your upbringing that sort of comes back into your place in life today that you've realized is really, really important throughout. And I think that resonates with finding the truth and finding happiness, which you weren't ever afraid to reach out and search for. And that's your connection to faith. When did that really start building to where you are today?
Well, I will tell you, it started really building. I've always considered myself a Christian guy, but in the military, when those times came, when the war on terrorism started, that's where things started to get serious. And my career was so diverse that between, flying combat operations with the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, and in between tours, my time back home with counter-drug and drug control policy, I was facing going overseas and really looking at, hey, am I ready to take on those dangerous things that, I would tell you something that stuck in my heart with my service and my brothers and sisters, just coming off of Vets Day, it came back pretty hard. I'm thinking of the saying. The saying was that all gave some and some gave all. And where was I on that spectrum? And if I was going to give it all someday, was I ready to move on? Was I sure of what, I preach today about saving faith and salvation? So my faith then was really about, am I where I need to be? And it's all about self-reflection. And are you truly walking that narrow path, that the Bible talks about? And that really got me on board with, especially men, not just the congregation, but men. Men today face I'm glad I'm not growing up today because it's so tough. And as you know, Peter, what we fought in the environment and the culture, I feel it has gotten so much worse today and it tries to drag us off track. And so this has led into, as you said, my life trying to get through that smoke and get to the truth and the facts because it matters in the end. And so that's really kind of where I focus today, and leading into that has taken me away from what those things I did, but it's a whole new lifestyle.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. We're going to take a short break. We come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Kevin. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening. Our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking with Kevin Smith about his life, the journey of an Iowa kid that made an impact on America, and about his strong roots in Iowa, including a learned appreciation of the power of faith. Kevin, I understand when you have the lives of fellow soldiers in your hands and you're mission-based and actually risking your life in action. There's a challenge to life and death. Why you're there? Can you do it? You said it yourself. You described it as some give all, and you found yourself needing to do that. And yet in real life, not most everybody isn't in the military. Not that they don't respect the military, but they haven't been in the military. And maybe they don't realize that those sort of come to Jesus moments are more prolific in real life. And you don't have to be in a life and death situation. You could be in a situation with depression, with anxiety, with a kid that needs your help because he's having some rough times, or a relationship that needs work. How did that transition happen to you when you went sort of like from the front lines into the community?
Well, it's unique. I preach, and when I do, I have told the congregation from the stage that, I talk about the things I saw. They were constantly saying the things you must have seen and went through as a soldier. And actually, the things I have seen and experienced of others and the hell, and maybe we don't term it as combat, but life in general here in this United States, it's tough today. And I have seen more tragedies here in America just with everyday life, from losing a job, losing a spouse, having a son or a daughter die, or drug addiction, as you all know, Peter, the onslaught of tragedies that brings to a life. And how do you get through that? And I know that we have those things in life that we say are treatments and solutions, but really the miracles I saw were all about including faith into that. And, I don't think, as George Washington said a long time ago, you can't rule a country and get through things without God. And that really dawned on me at some point. And as I looked at all those solutions, and men were losing, men and women both were losing the battle. And really, it's all about a choice that we can take, and the belief that you have, or the faith that you're talking about, and how powerful and what a difference that makes. And, I made a deal a long time ago, one bad night, when I was far away, I asked God to just get me through the night and get me back home, and I'd spend the rest of my life proving that he was real. And so I'm living up to my half of the bargain. And I think 27 and a half years of military and all the things I did, leadership, following combat, non-combat situations, got me ready for this challenge. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, believe it or not, is working with people in their faith. And again, it's a choice. It's a simple choice, not always easy, but with stepping into that, it changes your life. And as we know, Peter and you, I know the work you've done into treatment and all that kind of thing, that's what we're trying to do, is change our lives for the positive and having that outlook. And that is what faith does. And so getting that word out, and as you can imagine today, not always the popular thing, but it's where I'll be the rest of my life, pushing that forward. But that transition.
When I hear you tell your story, I hear almost a plausible first step is you first develop faith in yourself and then realize that was bigger than just you. And when we look at these times now, I mean, this show is airing during a holiday season, though the messages are important all year round. But we have such an increase of people self-medicating and using alcohol and people medicating for depression and anxiety, looking for answers, short answers, quick answers, or help, not knowing, what their real needs are, but knowing something is wrong. It's if we look at it as sort of a battlefield, it's so big with your enemies are everywhere. And if you have to preach, I can see how you could talk about it, at least the threat being more manageable in a military setting than in real life. So, I mean, for people to be living through some of these challenges, the idea of having not only faith in themselves, but belief that faith is warranted has got to be a big deal.
It is. And what we've done is we've structured it down to not looking so much at the rest of the world or your neighbor, your brother, your sister, at changing them. The biggest battle we have is changing ourselves and the outlook and the perceptions that we have. And with faith, getting across that line and coming to the foot of the cross is really what it's about. And then when you're confident that you have and been given those things that you need to step forward, then we start working on others. And it's, there's a book that Rick Warren wrote. I'm trying to think of the name of it right now. For the life of me, I can't. Rick Warren, Purpose-Driven Life? Yes. And I was confused. I was given that book as a gift by a man that was with my ministry. And the first opening line of that book, here I am reading a book about my purpose in life that God has. And the first sentence is, it's not about you. It is and it isn't. And I was confused. And I've spent the last 10 years of my life working on that confusion to get that answer. And so that's kind of where this ministry that we're taking to others, and especially to other men. And it's pretty gratifying and neat to see.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to try and hear a little bit more about that answer that came to you so naturally. We'll see you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here.
Wait. What?
I can't drive.
Why? My. Oh.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible. Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At MediaCom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared. And you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're talking with Kevin Smith about the importance of identifying the truths that can guide you in life. You know, we all learn rather quickly that the map is not the territory, and sometimes we need a guide, whether it's on a vacation or spiritually. And this is one thing that Kevin's devoted his life to. So, Kevin, please share a little bit about the ministry that you work now.
Well, our men's ministry, I had a guy come to me through a Bible study. His name was Craig Hutton. He's my co-director. And we talked about doing more than just a Bible study, and it turned into a full-blown ministry to men through an organization called Man in the Mirror. And I just got back a few weeks ago from a founders weekend with these guys who took me out there to learn what the core missions will be for the upcoming year. But it's all about men and the situation that men are in. And, you know, there's an expectation. I still think today, and Pat Morley is the creator of Man in the Mirror and wrote the book. He's the author of Man in the Mirror. And it's about running that rat race that every single one of us gets involved in today. And I will tell you that every single reward that we're told is the result of running the rat race. Not a one of them is as important as what your eternal salvation looks like, you know, your eternity. And we all know we're not here on this world forever. And you have to make a decision to make sure that that's eternity future is guaranteed for you. And so that's what we're doing, is showing guys the truth. The Bible is the life book that we all toss around and don't pay attention to. And in this ministry, we're telling guys, that's your life book. That is your guide. That is your map. You know, if I gave you a map on how to get through a minefield, I think you'd look at it. If it was a 10-mile wide by 10-mile long field, you definitely would have that map available of where you were walking, what you didn't want to step into, because the result is death. And if not physical at the time, spiritual later. And so that Bible is our map, and we teach guys about it, how to read it, how to gain from what, you know, it's called the living word for a reason. It helps you today where you're at. And but, you know, men are finicky like cats, Peter. You've got to build a relationship with men, and that's what it's all about. Men want relationships, but they don't want to build them. You know, we're kind of like that. It's like being married sometimes. They love their wife and they want to be together, but they want to be alone. And it's just a weird concept, but we've learned how to get through that fog with men, and it changes lives. I just got back from a weekend of dumping giants in personal lives, men having to dump those demons they carry, those giants, daddy issues, things that happened as a kid, hurts they've had in other relationships. Maybe it's something at work that, you know, we project like, oh, I just met Peter Komendowski and he looks my former supervisor at work who I can't stand, and I project all that dislike onto you. And you know what? That's where hate got so normal today in life. And I used to be that guy, especially in the military, when someone would tell me, well, we just got to love them. And I'm like, oh, that's not my way. But you know what? That's absolutely what it's about. But with men, we have got to handle that different. And,
you know, faith is hard. I mean, you know, we've got a Bible that's got a couple of thousand years of, you know, the words that have existed over a large amount of time. So it's a book of wisdom. Believing is hard for people, you know, and they say in this world, if you say one negative thing, it takes 10 nice things for you to change your attitude. Well, that might very well be true of life's lessons as well, and faith, that for every fear we have, or every insecurity we have, or every denial we have, it takes so many positive experiences to reformulate things. But one thing I seem to see as a thread is that oftentimes people come to faith after facing a challenge,
yes,
after facing that end of the road where they do not know the way. Is that something consistent with men today?
It is, Peter. And, you know, what's interesting is that men get to that point, they become totally broken. And I wouldn't say a percentage of all men, but some do turn to God and say, hey, what do I do here? And so I know for me, that's the way it came about for me. And I thought, why does it have to go that far? why don't men who have done that and now know the way, talk with younger men or even older men who aren't there and go, look, turn around now and just reach out and take a hold of, the hand of Christ. He's offering it to you. Why do you have to go through a tragedy to get to that point? Not that you can avert all tragedies, and even becoming a Christian, as you know, doesn't mean you're going to get by without issues and problems and challenges, but it sure helps you get through it easier. And if I knew then what I know now, that statement, wow. And so Craig and I thought, how about we do that for men? Let's bring this stuff to them early and before it happens, so that when these things happen to them in life, they know how to get through it. And the other thing is the brotherhood that we have, helping each other through life. We need that. We absolutely need that.
I think that these are some great points, and I'm looking forward to bringing you back and asking you to share some comments, insights, and inspiration with our viewers, because I think there's a lot of things you have left to share. So we'll see you all after the break. And as I say, you really don't want to miss this.
Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At MediaCom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared. And you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we're talking about the difference between what's real and not real, what's important to help guide you through life's challenges. And we've asked Kevin to share some insights with us. But I'm going to preface that with an idea, because I'm learning lessons myself in life that, whether it's winning the lottery or retirement, no matter what you change in life, it doesn't change you. So you could get somewhere and think that extra couple of drinks or flying somewhere to sit on a beach is going to help change your life. It doesn't. Wherever you go, you take yourself. And I see right throughout everything Kevin said, this connection to self and something bigger than self is so important to making our life great across the board. Kevin, tell us more.
One of the points I want to make is with everything coming, and as we talked about before, the holidays seem to intensify those giants we have buried. And a lot of it's loneliness, depression. There's a way through that. And I will tell you, you can't do it alone because you're not doing it alone. And I'll make a point here. If you've not seen the movie Nefarious, which one of our own Iowans, Steve Dace, was a part of, you need to go see that movie and see just what's hampering us. It's not just our own heart and misperceptions in life, but we are tormented quite a bit in the spiritual warfare realm. It is real. But you can't do this alone. And seek out and find that church, those people of faith that and get next to them, because it's really about dumping those things. And even in my life, I have sworn never again to sacrifice a relationship for anything, process, or just something I have a difference of opinion in. But it's about getting right with yourself and God and finding help to do that. And brothers and sisters in the faith, that's what the holidays are about. We celebrate the birth of our Savior, but also about the friendships and the family that we have. And I couldn't have done any of this without my church. The Stone Church in Manchester, is my family right now. I love going there. I love working there. The family, the church is the people, and we're inside a building. But that's what people need to seek out. You're not going to find that in American culture anywhere else. I don't care what it is, for the truth and the facts, but maybe a church, to go find a church near you that you like, you feel comfortable in. If they welcome you, preach from the Bible, that's where you got to start. And to get that base and find that family again, and then learn that those issues that affect all of us, from family and friends, past relationships, they'll be able to help you work through that.
Now I have a question for you, because I mean, we heard in the introduction, you've spent your life having to deal with what's true, what's real, get the facts. And it's like truth, justice, and the American way, like Superman's motto or whatever,
Right.
So I'm going to ask you a question straight out. In working with people in the ministry, just like other people of faith do, and as you may do in a different way, but on that path, are people happier and more content when they find their way that way?
Absolutely. Because what you learn is it doesn't matter. You've got a core truth in the path to happiness, and it isn't relying on rewards the world gives you. It's promises made by that in that book of life that God and Christ say we have if we just believe and follow. It absolutely makes a positive difference in your life.
So when you talk to your friends, let's say outside the church, your friends, your family, does your passion for Christ and the church make it hard for some people to deal with you, or do you generally find them inquisitive and curious?
I have learned not to be overbearing. And I think I'm blessed because just in everything I do, it seems to draw people. I may mention my faith because that's me. I can't separate it from me. It's the core. It's my heart, Christ first. And I get a lot of questions and inquisitive people. And it's made the ministry with Craig and I both just explode. And that's the neat thing about it. The influence you'll have, you won't believe,
I really thank you for sharing. I know from meeting people that were in the military with you that if they needed to stand by someone's side and have someone by their side when it hit the fan, they would pick you. And so I'm guessing that when people need to find the path to faith, they'd want you by their side as well. Thank you very much for sharing today. And thank you all for watching today. Check out our website at healthyiowa.org and keep your eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. I'm MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.